Week, the music stopped for good for a schemer who makes the late Mr. Ponzi seem like a piker. Here's Chief Investigative Correspondent Armin Katayan.
His face and name are now synonymous with scandal.
I call Bernie the Madoff monster because that's what he is. He destroyed lives.
Bernard L. Madoff literally made off with billions of dollars in investor money. On paper, $65 billion and counting. A former Wall Street wizard virtually unknown to the general public just 3 short months ago, he's now set to go down in history as one of the biggest crooks of all time.
He didn't have any complaints on his license, so the average investor didn't know that Bernie Madoff was a crook.
Jeffrey Sonn is a securities fraud attorney based in Florida.
It's horrible enough that I think they should change the name Ponzi scheme to the Madoff scheme.
Like that other famous swindler, Charles Ponzi, Madoff kept his scam simple, paying old investors rock-steady returns from money he received from new ones. It worked like a charm until fresh funds dried up last fall, the recession ripping the bottom right out of his fraud. Caught up in the collapse, thousands of clients, ranging from celebrities to a Nobel laureate to everyday folks like Irwin Salby.
Out of 20.
At 72, he's now forced to work the register at his son's pizza parlor to make ends meet.
When I retired, I got a lump sum of money, which I put into Mr. Madoff, into the fund, and I expected to one day reap all the benefits, and it's all gone.
The Madoff story came to a climax on Thursday, his final day of freedom starting shortly before dawn when this light flickered on in his $7 million Manhattan penthouse apartment. Then in a scene reminiscent of O.J. Simpson, news choppers chronicled Madoff's trip to federal court. He arrived surrounded by his own private security, protected by a bulletproof vest. In a packed courtroom, he pled guilty to all 11 counts of fraud, money laundering, and other federal charges. Speaking for the first time, Madoff said he was so deeply sorry and ashamed, and that I knew what I was doing was wrong, indeed criminal. Fearing Madoff would flee, the judge revoked his $10 million bail, the courtroom erupting into cheers as the disgraced financier was handcuffed and hauled off to jail. Afterwards, some of his victims spoke out.
It has destroyed a whole generation of investors.
The things that matter, I have. And he can't take them away.
But in many ways, Bernie Madoff is no longer just the face of fraud. In reality, he's become the poster child for Wall Street's unmitigated greed, the subprime mortgage mess, the entire market meltdown, exposing flaws in a system in desperate need of repair.
The system is really broken. The Bernie Madoff thing is just a symptom of a larger problem which we're now experiencing, and that is our financial markets have not been properly regulated, and Wall Street has gotten away with policing themselves for just too long.
As for Bernie, he's got a new home. A 7.5-foot by 8-foot cell like this one at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan, on his way to harder time in federal prison, leaving behind the most obvious question, one I put to former federal prosecutor Sean O'Shea.
Could anyone in their right mind believe that Bernie Madoff pulled off this scam by himself? I don't think so. And I don't think the prosecutors think that.
In fact, now under the microscope, Madoff's immediate family and key employees. More twists and turns certain to come in a scandal destined to live long after the man who started it likely takes his final breath behind bars.